Hello and welcome to Mr. Burgos' channel. Today we're going to be solving number 47 in chapter 4, section 4.8 through 4.9. It states, an 81 kilogram baseball player slides into second base. The coefficient of kinetic friction between the player and the ground is 0.49. A. What is the magnitude of the frictional force? Well, we know that the mass of the baseball player is 81 kilograms and the friction is 0.49. We need to solve for the frictional force, and we know that the frictional force is the coefficient of friction times the normal force. We know that the normal force is one of the forces acting on the baseball player, so is the force of gravity and friction. Normal force and the force of gravity in this free body diagram cancel each other out because they equal each other. Thus, in order to find the magnitude of the frictional force, we can use the force of gravity, which is mass times gravity, in order to solve for the frictional force. So we can use this in our equation. So the force of friction is equal to the coefficient of friction times mass times gravity, which is also the force of gravity. So we plug in our values into the equation, and we get that the frictional force is 390 newtons. So that's A. So in order to solve B, which states, if the player comes to rest after 0.6 seconds, what was his initial velocity? Well, we know that the final velocity is 0 because the player comes to a rest. The time is given, which is 1.6 seconds. The x, which is the distance, we don't know, and the acceleration we don't know either. And we need to find the initial velocity. So we need to use the force equals mass times acceleration formula in order to find the acceleration. And since we know the force is 390 newtons, and we know the mass, which is 81 kilograms, we can find the acceleration. So we solve for acceleration and we get 4.81 meters per second squared. Now we don't know the acceleration, we can use kinematics in order to solve for the initial velocity. We plug in our values into the equation, and our initial velocity is negative 7.7 meters per second. Or in other words, 7.7 meters per second towards second base.